Cigarette? No.
The Mask began as a dark horror, a cursed mask that twisted people into monsters. Then Jim Carrey turned fear into madness and made movie history. Director Chuck Russell swapped blood for cartoon chaos, and Cameron Diaz nearly lost her shot before one audition changed everything. These are 10 shocking secrets you never knew about The Mask, 1994. Tucked inside all the mayhem, a sequel contest, a near disaster, and genius born from chaos. Secret 1. It was supposed to be a horror movie. Before Jim Carrey's cartoon chaos, The Mask was meant to terrify you. The original script, based on the Dark Horse comic, was pure horror, a cursed mask that forced people into violent killers. Director Chuck Russell read it and said, "What if the monster was funny?" He saw potential for mayhem wrapped in comedy and rewrote it into a wild cartoon fantasy. Jim Carrey didn't just act, he improvised nearly every scene, turning Stanley Ipkiss from tragic to iconic. Behind every laugh was the skeleton of a horror film that never was, the movie that almost scared audiences instead of making them laugh.
I think he wants to communicate.
Secret 2. Jim Carrey was paid peanuts and didn't care. When The Mask exploded into theaters, Jim Carrey became the most talked about actor in Hollywood. But here's the twist. He made only $450,000 for the entire film. Why? Because he'd signed the contract before Ace Ventura turned him into a star. By the time cameras rolled, he was worth millions. But New Line refused to renegotiate. Carrey didn't flinch. He said, "The money's not the point. This one's going to live forever." And he was right. That small paycheck led to one of the most profitable comic performances in movie history, a green-faced legend made on a shoestring. Secret 3. Cameron Diaz got the role, with zero acting experience. Cameron Diaz wasn't supposed to be in The Mask. She had no training, no credits, and just one modeling headshot. When she walked into the audition, the studio barely looked up, but the moment she smiled, the room stopped. Director Chuck Russell canceled every other audition that day. She was cast 7 days before filming began. No acting coach, no second take, just instinct. They threw her straight into the chaos beside Jim Carrey, and she held her ground. Every frame, every glance looked effortless, from complete unknown to Hollywood's next icon, all in 1 week. Secret 4. Jim Carrey rewrote the movie without touching the script. Jim Carrey didn't just play Stanley Ipkiss, he created him. Most of his lines in The Mask weren't in the script. "Somebody stop me."
Somebody stop me.
"Smokin'," even the balloon animal scene, all pure improv.
For my first trick, I'd like to do something for you, son. We have a giraffe. There you go, son. Now get out of here. You're bothering me. Thanks.
The crew couldn't stop laughing, and director Chuck Russell just let the camera roll. What was written as a timid bank clerk turned into a living cartoon. Carrey's energy was so unpredictable, animators had to adjust their effects after he performed. They said it was like trying to catch lightning in a jar, and somehow he made it look easy. Secret 5. The $23 million gamble that changed visual effects forever. In 1994, CGI was new and expensive. New Line Cinema took a massive gamble, spending over $23 million on a movie based on a green-faced cartoon man. Digital Domain, the effects team behind Terminator 2, was hired to blend live action with cartoon physics. They had no roadmap. Every transformation, spin, and stretch was built frame by frame. The studio nearly pulled the plug when rendering delays pushed deadlines by weeks. But when they saw the first test, Jim Carrey's eyes popping out of his head like a Tex Avery cartoon, they knew it worked. That one shot convinced them to finish it, and it redefined what CGI could do in comedy. Secret 6. How the VFX team invented cartoon physics in real life. It wasn't CGI that made The Mask explode off the screen, it was pure invention. In 1994, computer effects were still primitive, yet Industrial Light and Magic, the same team behind Jurassic Park, built an entirely new system just for Jim Carrey. They filmed every scene twice, once with Carrey performing, and again with tracking points on his face. Then animators hand-sculpted his expressions, frame by frame, turning live action into living cartoon. His bulging eyes, spinning tongue, and stretching jaw weren't digital shortcuts, they were hand-drawn composites layered over film. ILM's experiment birthed a new era, the moment where animation and reality stopped being separate. That's why today's superhero effects, from Deadpool to Sonic, still trace their DNA back to a green-faced man dancing through Tex Avery's madness. Secret 7, The Mask was almost rated R. Before The Mask became a cartoon for all ages, it was almost too dark for anyone. Early drafts of the script leaned into horror. Think blood, body horror, and murders with a smile. Stanley Ipkiss didn't just prank his enemies, he killed them. When New Line Cinema first read it, the studio wanted an R rating, something closer to Freddy Krueger than Bugs Bunny. But when Jim Carrey signed on fresh off Ace Ventura, director Chuck Russell saw a chance to reinvent it. He stripped out the gore, amped up the chaos, and left just enough madness to make it funny instead of terrifying. The result? A film that danced right on the edge, too wild for kids, too goofy for adults, and somehow became one of the biggest PG hits of the 90s. The Mask didn't just dodge an R rating, it redefined what crazy could mean on screen. Secret 8, The Dog That Stole the Mask.
Run, Milo!
Every hero needs a sidekick, and in The Mask, it wasn't Tina or Dorian. It was a tiny Jack Russell Terrier named Milo, played by a real dog called Max. Max wasn't just a pet. He was trained like a stunt performer with dozens of rehearsed tricks. But here's the secret. Filming his scenes was chaos. Jim Carrey improvised constantly, and Max would copy him, sometimes biting the fake props or running off set mid-take. In one scene, where Milo steals the mask, it took over 15 takes because Max refused to drop it. He thought it was a real toy. The crew joked that he was method acting, but Carrey loved it. That stubborn, unpredictable energy made Milo more than comic relief. He became the heart of the madness. And in the end, audiences didn't just love Stanley Ipkiss, they fell for a dog that could outact Jim Carrey. Secret 9. When Jim Carrey outperformed CGI, the visual effects team had a plan. Every eye pop, jaw drop, and spin was written in code. But the moment they saw Jim Carrey move, everything changed. He stretched his mouth wider than their software could track, twisted his face like rubber, and turned human anatomy into animation. ILM, the same team that made Jurassic Park, suddenly realized they didn't need to enhance him. They needed to keep up with him. Entire scenes were rewritten because Carrey's body could do what their CGI couldn't. It saved the studio over $1 million in effects work and made the mask feel more real than any computer trick, because no program could match the cartoon chaos of one man's face. Secret 10. The movie that was never supposed to work. No one thought The Mask would work. Not the studio, not the critics, not even the cast. Jim Carrey was an unproven comedian. Cameron Diaz had never acted before. And the idea? A cartoon nightmare based on a violent comic book. New Line gave them just $18 million, pocket change in Hollywood, and crossed their fingers. But chaos found rhythm. Audiences didn't just watch, they roared. Word spread faster than any marketing campaign. By the end, The Mask had pulled in over $350 million worldwide, turning a gamble into a goldmine. It made Carrey a superstar, launched Diaz's career overnight, and proved that weird, when done right, can change movie history. Because The Mask wasn't supposed to win, it was supposed to fail. And that's exactly why it didn't. And that's the wild truth behind The Mask, 1994, a film born from chaos, fear, and one actor's fearless grin that changed comedy forever. Some movies make you laugh. This one made history. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets behind The Mask, make sure to hit subscribe, because every story here isn't just entertainment, it's education in disguise. I'll see you in the next reveal.